Hello, everybody. Welcome to The Source. Today is April 9th, and we have the founder of GroupUp, groupup.me, here today, Tom Bassett. And we also have Dakota Kaiser of the Waking Savage Collective, and I'm here doing Kutash of the Source.network. If each of us could introduce ourselves, and then we'll go right into the presentation by Tom. Thank you.
Cool. My name is Dakota. I'm the center coordinator of the ASC. I'm very interested in how to use this system for Hellenic directory so we can all kind of see what's going on in the world. That's my intro. What's up, Tom?
Beautiful. Thank you for the introduction, Doron, and Dakota, thank you for connecting this all together. Really excited to share. My name is Tom. Been programming for over 10 years now. I've done industrial automation systems. And the last 3 years I've been working the company that does real-time race tracking for marathons and large racing events like the New York Marathon, Chicago Marathon. The app that I built for them is localized to 5 different languages and used all over the world. It's been a huge stepping stone for me, and I feel like a really good primer for me to be able to put together these types of large-scale applications. And so I've dedicated close to around a little over 2,000 hours of my time so far into building the platform out to kind of show these different ways that we can interact in the world and discover information and share information with each other, kind of modeled on principles that we've seen in our evolutionary history. With that, it can be really nebulous talking about a lot of these things, talking about holonic structures and so on. So I figured the best part to go with this is to just build it so people can see what it looks like, how to interact with it, how to play with it. So that's kind of where things are at. It's the general framework for it's built. A lot of the features are built out, but there's so many more different avenues that this can go into. So with that, I kind of want to start with a brief little video walkthrough to show some of the things that are there already so that people can see, how this could help facilitate the new world coming into being and supporting us and supporting each other in this mission. So let's get the screen share going. All right, can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Cool. So I'll start off with the homepage to give you an idea. When you first come to GroupUp, you'll see this nice little homepage. Obviously, it can be done a lot better, but just kind of get basic information out there. I think the most important part to this is what I'm calling the New Earth Guide, or what people might call the holonic browsing. So I'm going to start with that. And this is a way to kind of create a directory listing where there's different groups inside of different groups that kind of link in different ways. So, for example, I can go into like the visionary art, and then I can go into these different artists, see what they're about, check out their websites or whatever it might be, and kind of browse it and have fun with it. This could eventually go into things like conscious retail and becoming shops. Talk about this more a little bit later, but I already have a Bitcoin payment gateway built in through Coinbase, and could eventually transition to an entire Bitcoin economy in using this site. It's a big conversation that can happen later, but I've already built that in, and we can go in different directions, whether it's altcoins or whatever that might be, based on our needs in this community. But the whole idea with this is to kind of bring more of that information to the forefront of all the different and awesome things that are going on in the world, all the different technologies, groups, nonprofits that are doing good things. The other part to this is, you can browse it like a tree, but it also allows for multiple parents. So for example, I found this through the technologies, but I could also, go to the parent because this is also in Boulder. And so I could also go, this is the Boulder page right now. This is a nonprofit in Boulder. Can show the parents here, can jump into all the nonprofits. So it's a really interesting way to kind of browse these different directory structures that isn't necessarily linear. And the other part to this too is at each one of these levels, each one of these groups gets different tool sets. So this can be like a calendar, different types of posting, voting. Let me go to another page that has some more of this filled in so you can get a better idea. Different types of voting. You can have like a multi-choice vote. You can select as many as you want. The idea is the framework for this is in place, and you can add in whatever level of types of like voting, for example, like a liquid democracy type voting, or a how do you feel about this from 0 to 10 or 0 to 100. The idea is, the general framework's in place so that we can add in all these other different tool sets and features that we are looking to have to support these different communities. Member profiles on an individual community basis, pictures, like photos, albums, and things like that. And the other part, this little funding module, is set up so that you can link a Coinbase account and collect money either as an individual payments or on a monthly level, so that we can start contributing to different groups, projects, and organizations in a single unified interface. To show you that a little bit more, if I go to my account info and subscriptions, this shows all of the monthly subscriptions that I have when they were started, and if I want to update them. Also, like I said, linked up to Coinbase, has different transactions that have happened on the network. Really trying to gear this to be the minimum viable ecosystem for how we, the new paradigm of how we need to share resources. Money at the time being one of them, information being another one. So yeah, really easy way to kind of browse through all these different groups and organizations, and also maintain communication and sharing of information at each one of these different levels in areas of interest that we might have. Also really enjoy just sharing, like, educational opportunities, these great groups that are out there that are sharing these resources to kind of improve and better the world through education and travel, like Numundo. So that's a big part of this, and obviously a lot of this still needs to be built out and filled in by different groups and organizations, and really needs to start gaining a user base. I haven't done anything with promoting this until this point until really starting to reach out in the last couple of weeks, because I wanted to get most of this built first, and it's pretty much right at that stage of minimum viable ecosystem. The other part that I want to bring into this is how can I bring more of the true, or at least truer news to the surface. So like local news, this is pulled from our at least Boulder's daily, or Boulder's local newspaper. Ideally, when you create an account, it'd be able to ask what your city is that you live in, or the area that you live around, and being able to link up to your local news sources, because I see news as a form of art, and I think it's something that we need to start, connecting more to the local news going around us, and supporting the people in our communities who do that type of work. As well as, and this is pretty simple right now, but global news, like different conscious news sources that are pulled in, different food news, technology, science, whatever it might be. This list can go on over time as well to kind of group together these different categories of information from good news sources. The other part of this too is bring transparency and accountability to news sources. So I haven't built it yet, but clicking on this, for example, would be able to give you the profile of CNET and where their revenue comes from, and what their, if they've posted any false or misleading news stories in the last year. So it's, right at the surface level, that news agency has to be accountable for what it is that they're posting. And yeah, I figure that is a pretty important thing, an aspect in these days. The other part is connecting to local governments, so you can see what's going on at the city level, state level, federal level, in the United Nations level, as to what's going on at those different levels. Bring them more to the forefront, more transparent as to what's getting created at these larger scales. There's a lot of intention of how ideally this could unfold over time to provide a new framework for how we collectively co-create at large scales, essentially by bringing in another branch, a collective voice of the people that has transparency and accountability, which is why, for example, in each one of the groups, there's a voting module. So, you can drill down, go into Colorado, Boulder. Boulder has its own voting thing, and you can utilize that to get feedback in any community at any size to different things that are going on, different feedback. So that can actually be used as a form of transparent and authentic, relatable experience that can be taken into account for how things get created at whatever scale, whether it's an intentional community of 30 people, like we're using it in the intentional community that I'm a part of, or whether it's for something the size of Boulder, or potentially even something like the world. But in a lot of cases, I think that we need to bring more attention to the way that the collective voice of the people is taken into account and how we create things at large scale. So that's kind of the groups. Yeah, the idea too is over time you can add more modules. This could be like an open source platform where if you have an idea for a tool set that could be valuable in a community, there's a framework for how to add a certain module, whatever that might be. It might be a shop module. It might be a radio module, whatever it might be. But giving essentially the open source community the ability to start creating the tools to fill in and making that an open source and sharing community resource. The other part to this that I want to bring in is the archiving section. So saving content that you find on the internet. And this is kind of a mirror of the holonic structure of the different groups, but you get to curate it yourself. So for example, I can drive into my media folder and go into the conscious TV things that I've been saving. So it kind of brings a level of coherency to the information where generally on most other sites, you know, you'd post something and it'd be gone in a matter of a week or two. You wouldn't be able to find it. But this is one of those things that makes it a lot easier to bring coherency to information and make it browsable, which has been really cool to kind of know at any given time when I've been saving this information that it's easy for me to find and go back to. The other part to this too is it's kind of like a synergy engine. So I can go to my friend Trevor's page and it'll show that he's saved 164 things. 26 of them are matching. So essentially it's like a network of links that he's saved, that I've saved, that just mashes them together and sees where the common places are. Now, this makes it really cool to kind of see and give that really strong jumping off point of places to have that conversation. Which really coming down to it is, for me, the one of the biggest parts of this is actually kind of stimulating people and having conversation about these different topics in real life. And there's also this really cool model for how commenting works. So for example, when I save something to my wall, there's a global comment chain because it's the global comment chain for the link. And then all of my friends who had saved this link would show up in some way here to, I could jump from conversation to conversation, even if that conversation had started happening, say, a year ago or 2 years ago. It enables that information to stay in the forefront and be available and provide really cool jumping off and branching points. The other part to this I would just want to bring up is I'm also looking at this as a decentralized computing thing. And I know there's a lot of people in this vein. It's not necessarily my specialty, but what I'm doing now is when you save content, it's actually integrated with the Wayback Machine and a video downloader. So essentially, you can have a little computer at your house that when you save content, it can create a backup of either the website or the video so that you can have access to it if the internet for some reason goes out, or just knowing that everything that you save will always be there. It's like a library of Alexandretta that can't be burned down, which I think is a really important thing this day and age. So yeah, that's a really quick rundown of a lot of the features that have been built so far. I mean, I can go on in so many different ways. Like there's an integrated calendar here that all the different groups and organizations that you're a part of can really easily, you know, have one calendar where you can just toggle things on and off and, you know, keep all of your invitations in the same place and, you know, get a unified calendar. And this is also integrated with iOS and Android. GroupUp has an iOS and Android app that works fairly well. Obviously more refinement needs to go into it, but it's working really well, and also just integrated with the iCal and Google Calendars, so that while you're doing events on GroupUp and you RSVP, then that'll show up on your phone calendar, which makes it a lot easier to keep track of things as well. And it also has a Chrome and Firefox plugin to easily save content from anywhere on the internet. So this could be something like I could highlight text on a page and say, save the current selection if I were to log in. And all the pages that you find on the internet. It makes it a lot easier to save and share information in that way. Again, I could go on and on, but I think those are some of the big features, at least that I wanted to talk about right now. But the idea with this is it creates a general framework for a lot of these functionalities and features to be built out and to be added on. Because I think that there's a lot of tools and resources that the new world needs to enable and facilitate the type of connection and communication and congregation that we need to transform this world into something that's thriving. So yeah, just wanted to give you that quick overview. Can obviously go into more detail over time, but I figured that'd be a good start.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. Got a couple questions for you.
Sure.
So you talked about having open source modules. How do you feel about collaborating and making like shared APIs with like groups like Time Republic or COEO or other social media platforms?
Yeah, I'm totally down with this. The GroupUp API right now, actually, it's not documented very well, but it's built on top of OAuth 2 standards, which is essentially what the majority, like sites like Facebook and Google use to enable outside third parties to be able to access information and data with consent from the end user. So it's like, hey, third-party application, can I have access to your email and all of your timeline? You say yes, and that gives them access to be able to edit the information that they requested. So again, this is getting back to data sovereignty and the end user having the rights and control as to who has access to their information. Yeah.
And what do you feel about like eventually building out different front ends to the same kind of like back end database? So like
Totally.
different skins on the website.
Totally. And I think this is where some of the people who have been working on the, next dimension, user interfaces like Chris with NewMap or Harlan with Superluminal, and many more that I'm not even aware of right now, to create more interactive and fun browsing type applications. Yeah, I'm totally down for that. I think there's so many different ways that this information can be organized, and I'm just trying to approach it right now from the very functional and grounded place of where we're at right now.
Yep, I see that, and so it is. It's very grounded here. I think this is this could be adopted by a lot of people. Speaking of that, I'd actually like to do a little screen share to show an example that I did of the ASC and how this is a useful system for new paradigm organizations. Get into that. Let's see. So this is our part of the system here. We're in the New Earth directory. We're down in decentralized autonomous organizations. We're the ASC. And I just started doing this a few days ago, so we don't have different pictures, but that will help a good bit. But I've structured a lot of data here. So we have all of our resources. We go in, we've got a lot of our lands listed. Some of our lands have sublands. Terra Frutis is actually now 10 different properties. And what I think we want to build into this is like, if people want to talk to the people of Terra Frutis, as well as like see the Terra Frutis events and like what life is like at Terra Frutis, as well as who's in it. This is a great way to do that for not just Terra Frutis, but every intentional community. It would be so helpful if we knew like all the things happening in all the communities across the world in a really easily searchable database. We're going to move these communities also into the intentional communities folder, which is a separate section we went into. Some of our lands are also in the community section. So Terra Frutis is a land property and it's a living, vibrant community. So you can find them in both places. We've got some projects over here. We got like outreach opportunities, and a lot of these are also ASC collectives. And this is where I think it can get a lot of fun. So we have yet to build this out, but within ASC collectives, we have quite a few other groups that we're playing with here. And I would like to see as the ASC, we're linked to like maybe 50-ish new paradigm groups, and we could have all of them listed here. And then when you go into it, you'd be in their section, and then they can subdivide, and we can look at these projects and these lands and these assets, and then we can list each other inside of each other, which I think is really cool. So we could go like over here to ASC resources, and I can add another tab. It can say like the source resources, or it can be like New Earth Nation resources, or whatever group's resources. And then you go into that and it goes into all their resources. Same thing with the different collectives, communities, projects. We can just all list each other inside of each other and have this like really epic multi-pathway browsing experience. We go into the ASC projects, we get to see the source projects, we get to see, it just goes on and on and on. I think this is like so much capability for us to list a ridiculous amount of interactive information. And what's great is each section then comes with all of these abilities. So if I'm like, all right, ASC projects, oh, what's the source? Oh, the source projects. And then I get to check out everything about the source and all of their events and their shows and what projects they've got going on. I snoop around long enough in the source, I find out there's another collective that I don't even know about that the source is connected to. I go into that and I like learn all about this new collective it's connected to other collectives I didn't know about. That's the idea of what it could be. This is how we could link literally every organization together in a way, and then we can all just search through it and know who's what members have what skills, who has what land, what technology systems are being developed, what's available. I think we could use this to actually map out in a really easy and fun and simple way everything going on in the new paradigm. So that's what I'm most excited about using this for right now. And I think that one thing that it's already ready for could provide gravity for more people to use it. And then there's a lot of fun we can have with all these other functions and ways of connecting together. I think that one point, the holonic data mapping, is like a really gravitational point for a lot of people to use this system right now. Thanks for listening.
Beautiful. Thank you, Dakota. That was a great introduction. I saw the passion behind your voice, and it gets me excited. It feeds me.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it's actually a really good point, and that could be a very valuable first step to bring people on. Is a very useful thing that they could get resources and connection from. Like, there's a lot of other things that I feel like GroupUp I've been working on in different angles, but that's the big thing is like, what's the very first step to bring people on in a way that's going to be easy, understandable, and provide them a lot of resources and information that are actionable to them. And I think that's a really good start, that people are like, oh yeah, that doesn't really exist like that on the internet now. And it's fun, it's different. And I can see the value in that in a really simple way. Because I mean, I'm really trying to approach this from a really big perspective of like the ecosystem, like the internet being like the central nervous system of the earth, and kind of like looking at all the different little like ecosystems that need to be made from that. I don't want to get too much into that because like it can have a tendency to draw away, or people get lost because they can't really follow at that level. So I think being very grounded in providing a functionality and tool that is really easily accessible can be really important. A good start.
Here it is. You already made it. And you're sharing it free of charge. This is amazing. Thank you for your time and your dedication and your commitment and your brilliance, brother. You've made something we've been calling in for a long time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, I've got a question.
Sure.
Is this GroupUp.me? Is it available to use right now?
Yes, and you don't have to log in. So when you post things, like, for example, in a community calendar, it can be either a public or community only thing. So you can have information that's public to people who don't have to create an account to access it.
Oh, word.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just started a group called Naked Ape Collective, which is like a we're trying to make it a branch of ASC. And so could I start that on the GroupUp.me or whatever?
You can. Yep.
Okay, cool. Word. So that'll be a really good way, easy way for me to communicate with all the members and stuff of the collective.
Yeah, that's the idea.
On it.
Yeah.
See if
I'm just trying to be able to like hear I don't hear everything, you know. I got a headache, but like I try to figure out everything as much as I can.
There'll be a video recording too, and I'll have a session with you sometime this week, Jackson, if you want to get more into detail about this.
Yeah, man, I'm totally down. I need to get back on the horse.
Cool. Well, I got lots of horses here, so.
We got lots of horses. Lots of smart horses. That's cool.
Perfect. Cool. Yeah, like a lot of what I've been dreaming out and putting out to manifest is built out. So I'm gonna hop in there and populate everything, and because everything I talk about is the intent to have an open source platform like, you know, Wikipedia, you know, wikis, where it's live and it's interactive and anybody can come on there and populate it, and to open source and speed up the process of building out, you know, paradise on earth or whatnot.
Yeah.
the data entry point and for the data to holonically, go in all directions is key. Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, and I have a really big interest around essentially like open sourcing projects. So like something that goes on in the city of Boulder or something in San Francisco, a project that happened on a city level, what was the process that they went through and what things did they come up to that they had to do? It's like if all of those projects become open source, essentially, it makes it really easy to start applying that to other areas. And so I think that can work really good for, like art projects in the town or whatever city repair projects might be. But it also could be really interesting for things like events. Like, hey, I'm going to make an open source event for doing a thing, for example, on Barbara Marx Hubbard's Wheel of Co-Creation, and creating an open source network for all this information that people can pull from, and making things a lot more engageable and sharing resources. I really try to model it in biomimicry from bacteria. Bacteria, one of the most successful species or life forms on the planet, they're considered to be one of the first species here, if not the first species here. And they are thriving now. They've been thriving throughout history. And a big part of it is because they can freely share their information, their DNA. When one bacteria adapts to an antibiotic or a situation, it does that and it shares the information to the other bacteria to adapt. And I think that's the biggest part is like we need to start creating these dynamic systems that help us adapt in this living world. We need to create a living system for the living world. And that's where I'm looking at this from. And there's, like I said, so many different avenues I believe this could go into. But yeah, I think just at least at first listing out all the different groups and organizations and getting that information out there is huge. I think that's one of those things where if people see all the amazing things in groups and organizations that are doing good things in the world, that can be such a huge catalyst to actually start giving people the hope that we can do this, that we can make this change, that it can happen. And so that we can group together, we can group up and really create this thriving world that we all know is possible in our hearts.
You got it. And I really like how with this system, we can not only map everything. Once it's mapped, it's like it's already built for engagement. So it's not just a mapping system where I can look at a spreadsheet or even like an image mind map. It's like, oh, okay, like, oh, these are these cool projects. Now I can literally talk to these people. I can send them a message. I can post to their wall. I can join their chat room. I can look at their events on their calendar. It's just such a powerful engagement point. Yeah. Super cool, Tom. Thanks for building this.
Yeah, and thank you for saying it. It gives me so much, encouragement. It gives me so much energy to feel seen in that way. And so, yeah, I'm really grateful for the tribe that you've put together and the network that you've built up. And like I said, the bringing awareness to sovereignty, because I think that's the big movement here. And I'm really excited to work in a collective in that way, to share resources, because we can't do this alone.
You got it.
Beautiful.
All right. Well, I think that's a good conclusion then, yeah?
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you for your time, Tom. Thank you, Doran. Thanks for showing up, Jackson.
Hey.
Yep. Thank you, Jackson.
Jackson Ellington's here.
Hey, Jackson and Jackson. What's up?
How you been, bro?
Very well.
Or what?
Yeah, we're about to go get the school bus back.
Cool. Where did it go?
Oh, it's at a church in Nashville.
And where are you guys?
We're in Asheville, North Carolina.
Cool.
It's in Tennessee.
Glad it's still running.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they parked it once they got back across the country. So we're going to start using it for like a bunch of fun stuff and things. Yeah.
Cool. I got a little kind of unrelated note, but the abundance generating suite is back on, you guys. I can let's have a meeting about it, and I'll get your machines hooked up for that. Same thing for you, Doran. I'm really excited to bring this this technology back to our collective. Give us all some basic residual income.
Oh, dude, sweet.
Wow, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, I still got my laptop too. So
Cool.
Yeah, and there's like.
Let's meet this week.
Concept, yeah.
Do it.
Okay, let's do like you want to do a meeting like on Wednesday or something?
Sounds great. Between 12 and 4 p.m. Pacific time is when I'm usually available.
Okay, cool. Wednesday is what's the date on Wednesday?
I don't know. We'll figure it out then.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. But dude,
Sure.
hey, so like, what's the average like monthly amount generated if you host it? You know?
From one machine, you guys should be able to make at least $50 a month.
That's cool.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Yep. But that's neither here nor there. We'll talk more later. Much
Okay,
love,
cool.
everyone.
Much love.
All right, everybody.
Peace.
Until next time. Ciao.
Peace and love.
Peace.